took them 3 attempts to land, and then they lost my bags, and I'll never fly them again. However, here we have YouTube. I'm sure many of you have seen this video. This is the infamous United Breaks Guitars video. And the important thing about this is not so much the video itself, which is actually quite entertaining, and I would encourage you to go look at. The problem is the problem with this video is down here, if you look at the bottom of it, it has had nearly 6.4 million people look at it. So Dave Carroll wrote a cute little song. It was their bad luck that he was a singer when they broke his guitar. And he made a video about it, and he put it up on YouTube, and now 6.4 million people have looked at it and have laughed at United, basically. This is really, really bad from United's point of view. And they've done a really particularly terrible job of responding to this. But I wanted to show you something else that is actually a worse kind of problem that United faces. And again, I'm not really picking on them in particular. They're just out there and they're convenient. I want to show you what happens when you run into Google problems. All right, so I'm going to type in United problems. And if you take a look at this, and you take a look at the links that come up, now I'm getting a couple of Manchester United, but the very top link here, the #1 Google hit that you get when you type in United Problems is a website called www.untied.com. This is not United Airlines. This is a complaint site put together by people that really don't particularly like United. This is really, really, really bad because it means that if I go to Google and I do a search on United Airlines and problems and I'm not happy and my baggage is lost, I get directed to a third-party site that has no affiliation with United. Similarly, if we sort of narrow this down to get rid of some of the football links, then we get Untied, we get this and that, we get links. If we go a little farther down, when I originally did this, you would get links to the YouTube video. So United has this problem that their website and the content that they're trying to put out is not getting viewed or is not getting found if you do a search on Google. Now, let's take a look at a different company that we all love and see what happens when you type in Microsoft problems. Now, when you type in Microsoft problems, setting aside the sponsored links, take a look at what you get here, support.microsoft.com, and a whole bunch of links there. A couple of other things that are not directly Microsoft.com, but the first couple of links that you get are Microsoft-specific links. So Microsoft has paid attention to their search and has made sure that when you search, you do actually get directed to the Microsoft site rather than to some third-party, I hate Microsoft type of site. So I would really encourage you at some point, if you have a chance, to go on Google and see what you can do with search. See what you can do when you go in there and you look up your particular company or your particular product name and the word problem. What do you get? Do you get your links or do you get something completely different? So the worst thing that can happen is not, in fact, my little story, and it's not, this was 5.7 million views about a month ago when I took the screenshot, but in fact the fact that United is not showing up in the search results, united.com. And then we have the Microsoft example where it does show up. So the problem we have here as communications professionals is that communication is now evolving from a one-to-many broadcast kind of operation where a very few people get the bullhorn and get to talk, and a very many people receive those communications into an environment where it is many-to-many. Anyone can publish. There's really very little cost associated with publishing, and the official content being put out by a corporation has to compete with the unofficial user content being put out by a random blogger of some sort. So the question then becomes, what do you do about this? How do you address this, and where do you go with this? So I have a series of strategies that I wanted to walk through here and talk about and look at what kinds of things you can do. The first one, coming out of this example that I just gave you, is you really, really must pay attention to search, because it's the infamous if the tree falls in the forest. If your content is out there, but nobody knows it's there, and when they search for it, they don't find it, then effectively your content does not exist, and people will not see it. So search can be your friend, with a very, very, very few exceptions, again, back to the classified, restricted, special kind of content. But in general, content must be public, because if content is not public, it is not Google indexable. And if it is not indexable by Google and the other search engines, then from your searcher's point of view, it does not exist. From your point of view on the inside, you really need to pay attention to search results. What happens when you do a search on a particular kind of thing that people like to do with your product? When you search on, let's say you make a piece of CAD software and you search on conversion from one version to another, whose information comes up? What are the kinds of searches that people are making? What kind of information are people running into trouble with? It's important to pay attention to what the results are that come up. It's possible, of course, for a competitor to put in, to optimize for keywords that might be used in your product and not in theirs. Keywords are important, so the issue of thinking about and anticipating what kinds of things people will search on, and then making sure that those keywords rank high in the content that you're putting out. Now, this is not about scamming people, unless maybe you're putting your competitor's name in your documentation, but this is about making sure that the keywords are relevant, that the information is relevant. And you need to optimize for discovery. What that means is that you need to think about organizing and presenting your content in such a way that people can find it. And just to give you a very basic example of this, if you have a topic online, some sort of information, and the title of that topic is Overview, then that particular topic will not do very well on a search for the specific thing it is an overview of. Whereas if you call it Overview of XYZ, or better yet, XYZ Product Overview, then that topic will score much better in search. So that's an example of a very simple kind of optimization that you can do that will help you, and that will help your content be discoverable or discovered. So let's take a look here. I wanted to ask you about what kinds of things you might be planning to do. So I have another quick poll. This is, in fact, the last poll, so not to worry. I'm not going to torture you with 27 polls throughout this thing. So my question is, just sort of out of interest, which of these are you planning to do, or do you already provide? So do you have a corporate blog that allows commenting? And I will say that as far as I'm concerned, if a blog does not allow comments, it is not a blog. It is more like a press release. A public forum would be a forum in which perhaps you have to register in order to post, in order to actually write content, but you can view the content without actually registering. So the forum would be exposed and would be, again, indexable by the search engines. A private forum would be a forum where registration is required to see any content. It's pretty common to have those, so for example, developer sites. Something like an MSDN often has private forums where you do have to have some sort of minimal registration. A public wiki would be a wiki that is, again, exposed. Anybody can see the content, and perhaps you have to register in order to contribute content or make changes. And a private wiki would be one that's internal, that is not exposed unless you register. So you would definitely have to go in and register before you would be allowed to even see any of the content on the wiki. This might also include wikis